Welcome back everybody to another video from the SAbleyes. Today we're going to be talking about Blacephalon GX. I'm here with Jordan. How's it going, Jordan?
Not too bad.
That's good, and we're going to be talking through what we think is the most hyped deck going into Brazil Internats, which is coming up this Friday. And that's of course Blacephalon GX. So if you're looking for a starting point to your Blacephalon testing, maybe you're looking for just a place to start, this is probably a decent, consistent list that'll do Blacephalon things most of the time. So if you're looking for consistency with Blacephalon, you're going to start off with 4 Blacephalon GX. Pretty good card, Jordan, wouldn't you say?
I would say. I think that that this count could be easily changed to 3 over 4, but it is by far the best opener in this deck, especially when you're going second. You really want to open Blacephalon every time, and 4 is definitely a good number to be able to do that.
100%. For those who don't know what it does, if you haven't read the card before, it's got Mind Blown for 2 fire, and you lost zone as many fire energy as you like that are attached to Pokemon on your board and do 50 times. So it's one of the Pokemon that can do big knockouts in the current format. It also has a really cool GX attack, Burst GX, to take a prize essentially. If it's a fire energy, you attach it. If it's not, then you discard it. And I mean, Bursting Burn isn't necessarily bad either. For a first attack 1 fire energy, just confused and burned, it seems fine. If you can't do anything else, why not?
And there is a cool ruling with Blacephalon that allows you to actually still accelerate a beast energy from the prizes even after discarding it.
Which is exciting. It's fun times, because it says if it's an energy card, which, you know, that seems pretty good. So
certainly a plus side.
If we're looking to get lots of energy on the board, one of the best ways that we can go about doing that is by playing Naganadel. So in this list we have 4 of the Poipole to start us off, and then 3 Naganadel to get your energy from the discard onto the field. Obviously that's Naganadel's ability, but if there's energy in the discard you can just put it straight onto the Naganadel, and then you attack with Blacephalon and put it away. Naganadel also has a really good attack, so for 3 colorless it does Turning Point, which is 80 plus if you have 3 prize cards remaining, another 80 damage. So 80 is a pretty good number just in general, hits lots of basics, you can knock them out pretty easily. And when you've got 3 prizes remaining, which with Blacephalon you sometimes find yourself in that position, you can just do 160 with a non-GX attacker, which, I don't know, that seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, I think that Naganadel and Blacephalon have more synergy than you realize at first. Not just because Poipole's funny attack, allowing you to look at your prizes, makes Burst GX a much more powerful attack, but just the ability designed with Blacephalon's attack, you can tell that these cards were made to be played together. And it's also worth noting that the Psychic typing is actually really good against those Baby Buzz or Garbodor or Buzz GX. So a lot of good Psychic Boost Pokemon that get knocked out by Naganadel really easily.
100%, and things like Malamar, even though you only do 80, Malamar's weak to Psychic, you can just kill one of those if you need to. There's lots of versatility with it, which is good. Which is pretty much why they're the only Pokemon that we play. Apart from that, we play 1 copy of Tapu Lele, obviously to pick up supporters and things like that. We want to draw lots of cards, so turn 1 Lilies are usually a good thing to do. But we're not so committed to it that we need more once we get set up. You've got a couple of Naganadels and a couple of Blacephalons going, you just want to be attaching lots of energy, so you don't really even need to support that frequently once the engine is moving. And we also have put in 1 Marshadow just for that extra little bit of draw or a bit of disruption. If your opponent has game on the board, you can just get rid of that hand and start yourself over again.
Another great thing about the Marshadow is that it gives you an additional way to dig the B-String on the B-String turn. That is one of the more important parts about this deck, as we'll talk about later. But Marshadow just gives you that extra chance of hitting B-Strings if you fail to get it off with your initial supporter.
Yeah, 100%. So that's pretty much the entire Pokemon line. There's a lot of stuff that you can put in this deck to make it more consistent or have better matchups against other stuff, but Jordan and I feel this is probably one of the best ways to just get started, to see how the deck actually works. And with these guys, you're doing your Mind Blowns every turn. You know, you'll be fine. You'll get it sorted. So we'll move straight on into supporters. So obviously, starting point for Cynthia is a pretty good place to be. You want to make sure that you've still got the ability to draw. It's the same as in any deck. You just want to make sure you've got them. Similarly, you're going to have 4 copies of Guzma. Since Mind Blown sends energy to the Lost Zone, if you're doing a big attack, you want to make sure you're doing a big attack on the right target. You don't want to be wasting lots and lots of Mind Blowns on a bunch of little dudes, because it's not going to end well. We also have in the deck a couple of copies of Lily. It's going to be our turn 1 supporter. Pretty good card to get yourself started up. You want to have a lot of cards in your hand to really get yourself into the energy and the Naganadels and things like that. And since we don't really have any decent 60 HP basics, in fact Poipol's got 70 HP, so we have none, Elm isn't relevant at all. And this is probably one that you can talk to, Jordan, because I know you're not a massive fan of it, but we've got a couple of Sightseer as well.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Sightseer in general, but I do think that out of all the decks that play Sightseer, this is the one that probably utilizes it the best. I could very easily see either Lily or Sightseer being bumped to a 3 count if you want to increase the support count overall. Could potentially even go over the 4th Guzma if you're having a bit of trouble withdrawing, because both of those cards are really good supporters for this deck overall, I think.
Yeah, for sure. The good thing about the Sightseer is that it's another option to discard, so you want to get Fire Energy into the bin, so Sightseer can do that, so it kind of mitigates the fact that you only draw the 5 cards. Moving into items now. Now we obviously play the obligatory 4 Ultra Ball, the best Pokemon search card in the game, plus it gets those Fire Energy that you're going to have a lot of into the bin, so there's no real arguments there. This count here might be a little bit more controversial, so I'll let you talk to it, Jordan. We've got 3 Mysterious Treasure.
Yeah, I think for many of the lists I've been saying typically play less than 3 Mysterious Treasure, and the 3rd Mysterious Treasure could easily be cut for either a 4th Naganadel or a 2nd Tapu Lele GX. I mean, in a sense, the 3rd Treasure kind of counts as both of those cards, as long as they're not prized, so it increases your outs to discarding energy and getting a bigger Lily off in the first turn, so it really does a lot, and of course it allows you to search out that Marshadow as well. Yeah,
and that Marshadow is a pretty good card to be able to search out. We've also got, beyond Pokemon Search, we've got a little bit of Energy Search as well, with 4 copies of Beast Ring. Almost every Pokemon in this deck is an Ultra Beast. Apart from Tapu Lele and Marshadow, a Beast Ring can proc on any of the Pokemon. And the best part is, since you can Lost Zone energy from any Pokemon in play, it means that Beast Ring can go onto Naganadel, Blacephalon, or Poipole and still be relevant. You can still find yourself in a position to discard that energy, which is really, really good. So it's one of those things people feel like, oh, I just need to knock out the first Blacephalon. Once that Blacephalon's been knocked out, you just get into as many Beast Ring as you can, attach from 2 to 8 energy in a turn. Obviously 8's a little bit ambitious, but but 2 energy minimum I'd expect to see, and that can push you across the line with your Naganadels proccing as well.
Yeah, I'd definitely say that Beast Ring works better in this deck than really any other Ultra Beast deck in the format right now, outside of maybe Buzzwole, but even then, Blacephalon is able to take prizes really quickly thanks to its GX attack and Naganadel's accelerating energy. So the fact that you can take prizes really fast early, and also keep the pressure up mid-game just makes this deck win the game so quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Now we want to make sure that we're getting into those Beast Rings. We've got a couple of Acro Bike in order to help us get there. It's also quite nice because it can discard energy if that's what you come into. So it's one of those nice little cards that can propel your board state further if you get a little bit lucky. These 2 cards are probably ones that we're going to tinker with throughout the week, because I think there's a couple of cards that we could replace it with. But for the moment, if we're just trying to get all the cards that we need to be in the right spot at the right time, then Acrobike is a perfectly valid card for that particular thing.
I think that Acrobike could either be cut down because it's not crucial to the deck working, but I think it could also be a count that could be increased to 3 or even 4, because the more copies you have of that card, the more effective it is, and it really is a strong card that synergizes with most of this deck.
For sure. We also have 1 copy of Rescue Stretcher. You know how it is, sometimes you have to throw away Pokemon that you don't want to throw away, and Rescue Stretcher can grab those back. It's also really good since you only have 1 copy of Lele or 1 copy of Marshadow. If that has to get binned early on for a reason, you can get it back. If you need to Marshadow for another 4, you can get it back if you need to. And plus, since we've only got 3 Naganadel, the Rescue Stretcher kind of acts like a 4th in a way. So it's not you know, it's not a void of kind of options to use it with. And you know, you can grab yourself a Blacephalon as well. It's just a good card. You know what Rescue Stretcher does. You know, it's good. We also have a couple of copies of Choice Band. You might ask why you're putting Choice Band in. You just bin more energy, right? Well, sometimes you don't need to bin as many energy as you would initially think. Sure, you could get rid of 4 and do 200, but sometimes you only need to do 180, so that's 3 energy in a Choice Band. And sometimes you need to do 230, you know, so that's 4 energy in a Choice Band. It also means that you can put yourself in more favourable positions with Naganadel as well. 80 plus 80 is 160, which isn't that great, but 190 is very good. So Choice Band is a real good inclusion in this deck. I'd probably even consider having a few more of them if we could, but you know, it is what it is.
Another thing I really like about Choice Band is it actually allows Naganadel to do 110 even without the boost, which is enough to knock out Psychic with GXs such as Blacephalon GX. But just in general, getting a 2-hit isn't the worst thing in the world against everything else as well.
Yeah, for sure. And we also have a couple more Pokemon search options in our stadiums. We have 2 copies of Ultra Space. If this card sticks on the field, it can be absolutely amazing. And you get yourself a Poipole turn 1 or a Blacephalon if you don't have it. It grabs out your Naganadel, and essentially for every turn that Ultra Space remains in play, it accelerates the rate at which you're able to attach energy to the board, which is really, really good. We also have one more stadium, the new Heat Factory Prism Star. With this deck, considering we have a lot of energy and we want to have them in the bin, burning an energy to draw 3 cards is exceptionally good. It can mean that on turns when you feel like you're maybe not going to be able to get there, you can get another 3 cards, you can Marshadow, see another 4, and then support it to see another 5 or 6. So you can see a lot of cards with this deck, presuming that you get them all in the right order.
Yeah, I think that Heat Factory is one of the main things that makes this deck over the top with its consistency. Obviously, it's not going to be there the whole game, but between Ultra Space and Heat Factory, any combination of 3 to 4 stadiums in this deck makes the consistency go up heaps, and of course gives you more ways to discard fire energy consistently.
For sure. I'm just realizing as well, I say for sure a lot, so we're going to need to move past that at some point. Anyway, onto the energy now. We have 1 copy of Beast Energy Prism. Obviously, this is like another Choice Band for your attackers, because it adds another 30 damage, and it means that Blacephalon can sometimes get to some tricky numbers, like 210 for example, whilst only lost zoning 3 energy. So killing a Zoroark with a Choice Band and a Beast Energy, only lost zoning 3 energy, you've got a whole bunch left to do. That seems pretty good to me.
It's also worth noting that even though there's a glitch on PTCGO right now, the ruling with Beast Energy and Blacephalon is you can actually discard it off of the active Pokemon with the attack, and it still gives you the plus 30 damage.
Which is pretty good. And then down the bottom, we've got ourselves a bunch of fire energy. Oop, there we go, that makes it a little bit easier. 15. We play lots of them because once they're in the lost zone, you can't get them back, and it's the way that we do our damage. So we have to lost zone fire energy to knock stuff out, so you may as well have a lot of it. It's like the old Volcanion EX decks. Just have a ton of it because it's the way that you do damage.
Yeah, I feel like the count for fire energy could be changed, give or take 1. I don't know what the exact count is, but I've been finding
we have
15. Yeah, 15 seems to be enough to close out. I've never lost a game because I've run out of fire energy, and I've never, or rarely lost a game due to having too many fire energy, because you can turn those fire energy into other cards with Ultra Ball, Treasure, and Heat Factory, for example.
Yeah, for sure. But it's almost as if those fire energy are just free discards all the time. You can just put them in the bin, and you're never really afraid of getting punished for not having one in hand, because statistically you are likely to have more fire energy in your hand, or you'll draw into more off of your Heat Factory or your support or whatever it is. So yeah, this is pretty much our basic Blacephalon list. This is a really good place to start testing if you haven't started testing with it already. It's one of those decks that if it gets going, it's really hard to stop, so it's definitely worth a look, and it's probably one of the only, if words are hard sometimes, Jordan. It's hard to talk. That's okay. We'll get there. It's at the end of the video. No one's watching it anyway. They've seen the list now. It's one of the only decks from Lost Thunder that has kind of created its own archetype. There's been lots of support for other decks from the set, but this is probably the only deck that I can see that is really its own thing.
Yeah, and I feel like this deck has a couple bad matchups here and there, but overall it can win pretty much any game just because of its incredible speed, and not many decks can compete with that.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to be testing this throughout the week, and then we're going to have, again, a review on Saturday, just like we did for SAbleyes Ninetales. During the week, you can probably expect to see Buzz Lycan as one of the decks that we take it up against. Buzzwole Lycanroc with Ninetales can do big damage as well, so they're kind of just going to smack into each other. We'll see what happens. We're going to play it against Gardevoir as well with Alolan Ninetales. We think that maybe Gardevoir, with the support of Ninetales, can be a little bit more consistent, but hey, we'll see how we go with that. We're also going to play it off against Rayquaza because, as Blake said earlier in the week, Rayquaza's kind of fallen off people's radar a little bit. So it would be worth going back and revisiting that. And again, they both have big one-hitting attacks, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And then finally, for our last game, we're going to play it against Alolan Exeggutor with that pesky tech that beats Blacephalon Baby Sceptile. So if throughout the week we can come up with a way to beat that, it'll be really interesting to see what happens on Friday.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how the list evolves over the week, and hoping it does a little better than the feature deck from last week.
Yeah, I feel like this week we might actually see our feature deck do some winning. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Beautiful. So thanks very much, guys, for watching this one. Look forward to seeing you throughout the week as you watch us test these decks. And yeah, if you feel like it, please leave it in the please leave some comments. Things that you would change, the text you'd add in, what type of matchups you feel like Blacephalon struggles with, and which ones you think it should probably win. Anyway, we'll leave it there, Jordan. Thanks for coming along, mate.
No problem.
And we'll catch you all tomorrow for more from the SAbleyes. Thanks very much. See ya.